So at the end of this video, there'll be a few questions that are going to basically be asking the atheist, and I'm speaking about a naturalist, materialist atheist, asking them to prove their faith. Okay, but before we get there, I want to talk about that. Now, I've been told many times here on YouTube and elsewhere that faith, referring to my faith as a Christian, is a great cop-out. That faith and reason are somehow diametrically opposed to one another. And that atheists don't have faith, they merely lack a faith in God. But what we're going to find out is that they do have faith, and although they say assume nothing, they have faith in what is called philosophical naturalism, which basically says nature is all that there is. Something that you cannot prove, right? And I've brought this up in times past, and many times, I guess to avoid having a belief system, they will say, no, you're talking about philosophical naturalism. I used to say only the word naturalism. And they'd say, no, that's philosophical naturalism. I adhere to methodological naturalism. Now, what is methodological naturalism? Rational Wiki says that methodological naturalism is the label for the required assumption of philosophical naturalism when working with the scientific method. Methodological naturalists limit their scientific research to the study of natural causes because any attempts to define causal relationships with the supernatural are never fruitful and result in the creation of scientific dead ends and God-of-the-gaps type hypotheses. To avoid these traps, scientists assume that all causes are empirical and naturalistic, which means they can be measured, quantified, and studied methodically. So with methodological naturalism, you're allowing only natural causation in your scientific inquiry, in your investigations. And that's fine when you're working in the lab. I mean, when I was getting my chemistry degree, I was not trying to think of possible supernatural causes for the compound that I had just made in a test tube, right? Or when it comes to coming up with prescription drugs. I mean, natural causation, methodological naturalism, that's fine. But here is where methodological naturalism merges with philosophical naturalism. It is when a person is employing methodological naturalism to find all truth, to find ultimate truth. When you do that, you're assuming that all truth is natural or naturally caused. Therefore, assuming that nature is all that there is. There's that word again, assuming. And you have a believer. This is where science meets up with religiosity. This is where their so-called reason meets with faith. And so within science, where you have all sorts of gaps, they fill it in with naturalistic assumptions. When it comes to ages of rocks and age of the universe and interpretation of the fossil record and all sorts of other things where they're trying to seek after where everything came from, the origin of all things and the origin of man, etc., all sorts of assumptions are made. So it is true with uniformitarianism versus catastrophism. And so these conclusions that they come up with, or that are called fact so many times, are actually facts out in nature mingled with assumptions that are fueled by this faith in philosophical naturalism. We all have the same evidence, and all of us reason beyond that evidence to something ultimate. Well, some people say that it's uncaused nature that's ultimate, and some people say that it's an uncaused, transcendent, infinite God that caused everything, that is ultimate. So basically, questions that I have for this type of person: can you prove that methodological naturalism is capable of finding all truth? That's what you're using to find all truth. How do you know it will find all truth? Can you prove philosophical naturalism to be true? What is your reason for saying that your reason is reasonable, whereas the other person's reasoning toward their faith is unreasonable? How do you know that your reason is reasonable? What makes you a person of reason? So go ahead, leave comments, make videos, whatever. I'm really interested in hearing how you can prove this. And I'm also wondering how people can sort of put down other people that have faith when you yourself have faith.